Welcome back to Primetime News.
And a special welcome once again to our viewers on onespotmedia.com.
Now up first this evening, the Director of Corruption Prosecution, Keisha Prince Kamika, has ruled that no charges are to be brought against the Prime Minister in report of the allegations.
Now, in a bizarre twist to this developing saga, that ruling was made in January 2023.
However, in a letter to the House, Marissa Dalrymple Filbert and Senate President Tom Tavares Finson, dated February 16, 2023, Integrity Commission Executive Director Greg Christie stated the Commission, through its chairman, retired Justice Seymour Panton, yesterday directed that the ruling should now be submitted for tabling.
Now, the original report was tabled this Tuesday. Our legal correspondent, Dion Jackson Miller, joins us to make sense of this.
Okay.
Lots have happened in the past 24 hours. What do you think about the explanation as to why the charges were not laid?
Okay, well, Janella, one of the things we do have to bear in mind is that a prosecutor is supposed to be what we call in law a Minister of Justice. And I don't mean Minister of Justice like Delroy Chuck. What it means is that somebody who is supposed to not be trying to pursue a prosecution at all costs, but in fact to pursue justice and to be fair to all concerned. And when you look at the report from the Director of Corruption Prosecution, what you can see is that she has done a detailed analysis of all the evidence that's available of the potential charges, and has determined that, in fact, in several of the cases, there is no evidence to support some of the charges. And then in another situation, she says there is prima facie evidence to support charges, but you have the concern about delay. So I would say what you see here is a prosecutor acting in the way a prosecutor is supposed to act in law. And I know people might be upset and say, okay, they had wanted to see charges being brought, but that is not the job of the prosecutor if the evidence does not support it.
Now, I want to pick up on something that you just said. The director said a prima facie existed to support two of the recommendations. Explain a little more, what does that mean?
Sure, and for that we'd have to look as well at the particular charges. So the recommendations were in relation to two issues, in relation to the National Works Agency and the Ministry of Education, that reports that should have been filed with the Contractor General had not been filed. Based on the statements on file as well as based on the documentation available, the Director of Corruption Prosecution said there does appear to be evidence to support those charges. However, we're talking about a situation that took place, she said, 13 to 16 years ago. And then you run into the issue now of would prosecuting at this stage be fair to the officers in this case? Would they even be able to access documentation or files or the papers or witnesses that they would need to properly defend themselves? And she said, as a result, it would not then be in the interest of justice to pursue those particular charges.
On another quick point, how important was the issue of delay?
It's extremely important because, as we mentioned, in those particular cases, the director said it didn't make sense pursuing the charges, but the Integrity Commission also, I think, needs to answer as to why it is that these investigations took so long. This investigation, for instance, was started in 2016. That is, 7 years ago. The Mombasa investigation, if you recall recently, that was tabled last year, and that took 5 years. So the Integrity Commission itself is contributing to this issue of delay. I should just say before you let me go, Janella, I know people, of course, want to hear about the situation in relation to Mr. Holness. And what the Integrity Commission had said was that when Mr. Holness had been interviewed, he had responded. He had given his own side of the story as well as further information. So he said, for instance, on the issue of not disclosing his relationship to the people involved, he said there was no need to disclose because the SDC was well aware already of the relationship. And the Director of Public Prosecution said, given that additional information, which was not contradicted, there could be no charges laid in relation to Mr. Holness.
Dion, I know I said final point, but in response, Prime Minister Holness suggested that he would be seeking legal action as it relates to this matter. Does that make sense right now?
Well, I tell you what, every time, and I mean every time a report comes out from the Integrity Commission, we hear the particular politician who is investigated saying they've referred the matter to their lawyer. Sometimes they say they're going to seek action in terms of defamation. And Mr. Holness didn't use the word defamation, but I think it was suggested from the context of his statement. What I can say to you is that based on the Integrity Commission Act and based on the Defamation Act, the Integrity commissioners themselves are protected against defamation unless there is some kind of malicious action on their part, and we are protected. We have qualified privilege to report fairly on these reports that are tabled in Parliament. So, you know, people are free to refer to their lawyers, who will probably give them the same advice I just did.
Thank you so much, our legal correspondent, Dion Jackson Miller. Javon.